The summer sun blazed over Andrews Air Force Base as flags fluttered in the wind. Lines of uniformed personnel stood at sharp attention, the atmosphere charged with both pride and tension. This wasn't a routine day. President Donald Trump had made a surprise appearance to honor airmen returning from a confidential humanitarian mission abroad. Though patriotic, the mood was somber. Cameras clicked, family members waited anxiously, and reporters lined the edges. As the president arrived, a wave of anticipation and unease swept through the crowd. Among the airmen stood Senior Airman Jace Carter, unmoving not out of nerves, but something far more personal. As Trump walked the line, exchanging salutes and handshakes, he stopped in front of Jace. The airman met the president's eyes, standing firm, but didn't raise his hand. A collective gasp echoed through the formation. Trump remained mid-salute, waiting. Jace did not move. Agents exchanged glances, the silence pressing down on everyone present. Eventually, Trump dropped his hand, nodding slightly. "At ease." "Son," he said. Jace nodded stiffly, still silent. Behind them, a general's expression paled. Why had this decorated airman, known for his courage, refused a salute to the commander-in-chief? No one had answers yet. The real story was just beginning. Later that evening, speculation buzzed across the base. In the barracks, whispers floated around Jace's name. "Did you see him? Just stood there. Is he gonna be court-martialed?" But no one dared ask him. Jace sat on his bunk, quietly staring at a photograph inside his worn leather wallet. A young woman in uniform, her smile unforgettable. His bunkmate, Tech Sergeant Miguel Alvarez, finally spoke. "You all right, man?" Without looking up, Jace replied, "I did what I had to." "That kind of move ends careers," Miguel warned. "There's a reason," Jace said. "A good one." Just not yet. Even Miguel, close as he was, couldn't guess the burden Jace carried. Meanwhile, the White House scrambled. Though the footage hadn't aired yet, journalists had noticed the incident. The chief of staff asked Trump directly, "What do you want to do about the airmen?" Trump leaned back, thoughtful. "Nothing, not yet." He didn't see rebellion. He saw something deeper, and he wanted answers. 3 days later, Jace sat alone, pen in hand, struggling to finish a letter he had started many times. "To the President of the United States, I couldn't salute you. Not because I disrespect the uniform, but because of what happened to my sister." He paused there, unable to go further. His sister, Captain Abigail Carter, had died in a drone strike during a humanitarian mission in Syria. Official reports called it a tragic error. But Jace had learned more. It wasn't a mistake. The approval had come too quickly, dismissing Abigail's urgent communication. The documents bore a high-level sign-off. President Trump, Abigail had radioed in, pleading for a delay. Her warning had gone ignored. Jace had read the transcripts. Then he burned them. But her voice echoed in his nightmares. That refusal on the tarmac wasn't rebellion, it was mourning in uniform. The letter remained unfinished, but fate wasn't done with Jace Carter. The next morning, Jace was summoned to the base commander's office. He expected disciplinary action, but instead found a general and a suited man waiting. "Senior Airman Carter," the general said. "This is Mr. Daniels. He represents the president." Daniels stepped forward. The president would. "Like a private meeting." Jace blinked. "With me? Why?" "He wants to understand why you didn't salute." Jace tensed. "Is that an order?" "It's a request," the general replied. "Off duty, No press, no consequences. Jace stared out the window, conflicted. Part of him wanted to refuse, but part of him needed to say the things buried in his chest. Finally he said, "I'll go." That night he packed quietly. Pulling Abigail's photo from his wallet, he whispered, "Maybe it's time." The West Wing conference room was silent when Jace walked in. Trump sat alone, no staff or cameras. "Take a seat, son," Trump said. Jace sat down guarded. "You didn't return my salute," Trump began. "I want to know why." Jace didn't flinch. "With respect, sir, it wasn't personal. It was pain." He pulled out Abigail's photo and placed it on the table. "She was my sister. Captain Abigail Carter. Killed last year in Syria. Friendly fire." Trump nodded, recognizing the name. "She radioed in. Asked for a delay. The comms were ignored. And the approval came from above." Trump studied the photo. "You're saying I signed off on that strike?" "I'm saying the system failed her. And that failure bears your name." The silence grew thick. Trump finally asked, "What do you want from me?" "I want the truth. I want her voice to be heard." Trump had no answer. That night he sat alone in the Oval Office, Abigail's photo still in hand. "Bring me the Syria mission files," he told his national security advisor. Hours later, a sealed folder arrived. Inside, Abigail's final transmission. "This is Captain Abigail Carter. Non-combat convoy. Civilians on board. Abort the strike. Coordinates are wrong." Another voice cut in cold, dismissive. "No. Time. Orders confirmed. Proceed." Then silence. Then impact. Trump's hands trembled. Her warning had been erased. The audio had been labeled corrupted, but she had been right. Someone buried the truth. The next morning, Trump called Jace. "I heard her voice," he said quietly. "She saved lives," Jace replied. Trump nodded. "She deserves the truth. You both do." But going public meant consequences, political fallout, allies turning. Trump had to choose: protect the system or defend a soldier's memory. He chose. In a classified meeting, he asked, "Why was her communication ignored?" An uncomfortable silence followed. Finally, General Morrison replied, "There were concerns the delay would compromise the mission. She was transporting civilians." Trump said sharply, "She radioed. She was ignored." Another aide added, "The approval process was fast-tracked to protect reputations." Trump's fist hit the table. "Find out who." That evening, Jace received a call. "I'm making this public," Trump told him. "She deserves it," Jace whispered. "Thank you." At the Rose Garden, Trump stood before reporters. No teleprompters. Holding up Abigail's photo, he said, "This is Captain Abigail Carter. A hero." Her voice was silenced by a system that chose speed over truth. Reporters froze. "This administration accepts responsibility," Trump continued. "And we are launching a full investigation into the decision behind that strike." When asked if this would compromise national security, Trump answered, "There is no security without integrity." Jace watched from the back, his heart heavy. The man he once couldn't salute had become his sister's voice. But the fight was far from over. The strike that killed Abigail was based on false intelligence. Daniels turned pale. "You're saying Whitaker profited from that mission?" Lena nodded. "And he's still hiding the truth." When Trump was informed, he understood the gravity. It wasn't just justice now, it was treason. Jace was soon the key witness in a federal case. Charges were filed against General Whitaker, backed by leaked communications, financial records, and whistleblower accounts. Jace took the stand, heart pounding but firm. He spoke about the day Abigail died and the cover-up that followed. "I'm here because she can't be," he said. "But her voice will never be silenced again." Trump quietly attended the final day of the trial. The jury returned a verdict guilty on all counts. Justice had finally prevailed. Back at Andrews Air Force Base, Jace returned not just as a serviceman, but a symbol. Young cadets admired him. His story was now part of military ethics training. Miguel greeted him with pride. At the memorial wall, Jace pinned Abigail's medal under her photo. "She made it home, too," he whispered. Trump later called him to the White House. "I'm forming a new oversight unit," he said, "and I want you on it." Jace hesitated. "Me?" Trump nodded. "You've already done more than most," Jace agreed. As they shook hands, Trump added, "You never saluted me, but I salute you, Jace." With full heart, Jace finally returned the salute. Months later, Abigail's law became permanent policy. Every combat communication now had civilian oversight. Trump spoke at the signing. Her voice was nearly lost. But thanks to her brother and this country, it lives on. At the barracks, Jace finished the letter he'd once left undone. "Dear Mr. President, I couldn't salute you before, not from hate, but pain. Today I do. Thank you for hearing her. Thank you for letting the world hear her too." He sealed it. This story began in silence, but ended with a salute and a voice that would never fade.